So now we're at turn 12, the last turn of the game in Saratoga. It represents 7 o'clock through up to 8 o'clock. And now the Americans lead in the morale track, 14 points to the British 9 points. This makes it easier for the Americans to get initiative, which they do. And General Arnold's orders his men to attack Burgoyne's regiment, and while at the same time the New York and Massachusetts end up attacking the Hessians on the western flank. Gates' men, which have crossed the Mill Creek, are going to make some selected attacks against von Rysdal's Hessians, which are spread throughout the forests there along the Hudson River. The Hessians respond with artillery fire, but this misses. Then Jones' artillery with Burgoyne fires point blank at Morgan's rifle, but fortunately they miss. The rest of the artillery is out of position and can't fire. Then Morgan's rifles can fire in the rifle phase, and they return fire against the artillery, which they disrupt, and it retreats. This causes British Army morale to drop to 8 points. Then in the forest to the west of Bemis Heights, the Jaegers fire rifle fire at the 2nd Massachusetts, and the Americans suffer a disruption and fall back. So this lowers American morale to 13 points. Still high morale, however. Arnold then attacks Burgoyne on the middle branch with the 2nd New Hampshire on the north side, which has eliminated the defensive effects of the creek for the British. And it leaves the New Hampshire regiment a little bit exposed, but the Americans have a slight advantage with this maneuver. Due to the modifiers as well as the tactics chosen, the Americans have a +4 die roll modifier, and the roll is 9. So the British uses his momentum chip. Otherwise, Burgoyne would have been captured, and that would have been a disaster. The reroll is a 6 modified to 10, and that causes the 20th Regiment to take a step loss. Burgoyne is killed, so that wasn't good. Although Phillips is next in line, he's not present yet, so Baron von Riedesel is now the senior leader for the British. This is not going to go over well with the British, is it? American morale now maxes out at 15 points, and the British morale drops to 4 points. Next, the 2nd New York Regiment attacks the Jaegers in the forest just south of the Chatfield Farm, and the Americans decide to attack in echelon. The British attempt to withdraw, and this works somewhat, and the attacker is disrupted, and the American morale drops to 14. Then to the east, the 11th and 12th Massachusetts attack the 2nd Chasseurs, and these Hessians are commanded by Baron von Riedesel, but the Hessian unit takes a step loss and is eliminated. So the American unit, the American morale returns to 15, and the British drops down to 3. This is getting to be a disaster here. Gates' men are going to continue to hammer von Riedesel along the Hudson. So the 1st and 5th Massachusetts regiments assault the 42nd Regiment, which forces the British to retreat. The British player is clearly in big trouble now, as Army morale is wavering. And if the morale were to fall to 0, the Americans will win a substantive victory. So Baron von Riedesel decides to call off the attack to try to preserve morale out of that danger zone. So Brigadier General Fraser moves back to Freeman's Farm, and he's attempting to rally the troops there. Jones' artillery, though, fails to rally, but the Fighting Ninth does recover, and that brings the British morale back up to 4 points. Von Rates also rallies. That brings the British morale up to 5. There is no artillery or rifle fire, and since the British have now moved out of contact, there's going to be no close combat, and night falls. General Arnold is adding a victory notch in his belt. the morale difference between the two is 14 American, 5 for the British. Plus, the Americans have 4.5 victory points, and the British have Freeman's Farm, so they get 1.5 victory points. And it ends up being the Americans winning only a marginal victory. I suppose that's somewhat historical. Anyway, this brings the game of Saratoga to a conclusion. Thank you for watching if you stuck with me through this whole replay. And stay tuned if you'd like to see more games demonstrated.